Okay, it's 6 p.m., Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. Time for our semi-annual City of Ripon Police Commission meeting. I'd like to call the roll call, please.
President John Healy.
Here.
Secretary Steve Lewis. Present. Kevin Rosendahl.
Here.
Arlo Richter.
Here.
Vince King.
Here. Okay, we're all here. Second thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes of the last meeting, which was September 2nd, 2021. Trusting we've all had a chance to review them. Do you know of any corrections or questions?
I do not. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Motion's been made by Lewis,
Second.
by King. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Citizen input.
And just for the record, I do have an officer out front in case anybody needed to come in, and just wouldn't let anybody in. So.
Appearing to be none. Item 4, Chief of Police report, please.
Sure. Good evening, gentlemen. Good to see you again. Just want to go over a couple of things that, this is a good time for us to get together and just discuss some of the things that we've been doing in the department and get you up to speed on some things. You do get monthly reports from the department. There was, I think you probably, in the last report you got, saw a letter that I attached to that as well. So we had gone through some records management changeover in January. And when we did that, we were having some issues pulling data off from that records management system. So there was a couple of months in there where you didn't receive a monthly report. And then I think the last one that you've got should have been January, February, March reports. So with a letter explaining how that works. So a little bit different format than you probably are used to getting from us. We're going to kind of keep an eye on that and maybe tweak some things as we get more proficient with that system as far as pulling data about numbers and what we're doing as far as function within the department. So if you've got anything, once you get those reports, if there's anything in there that you're not seeing that you think you might want to see, let us know, and we can see if we can pull that and get that information on there. But just a little bit different format for you. We're coming up on our year anniversary as far as department activities. We're coming up on our year anniversary already of our switch to Fond du Lac County for dispatch. If you recall, that happened on June 1st of last year. Seems like we were just having some discussions in-house, and boy, it seems like it's really flown by. It's hard to believe it's been a year already. So, there's been some pain. There's been some learning, some curve for us all. But all in all, I think based on what we're seeing with how the city's going as far as budgets and where we're at and those type of issues that are occurring citywide, we think we made the right decision there for a variety of reasons. The level of service that we've gotten from our dispatchers, and certainly sergeants and captain can speak of this as well, the dispatchers themselves with us have been really good. They provide a great service for us through the county. We're not seeing anything where we're being put on the, off to the side or anything like that because we came in late. Any of those issues, they treat us just like everybody else. And actually what we've kind of noticed is better relationships countywide, I think, with our officers. In the past, when we had our own standalone dispatch center, there was times that the Fond du Lac County could not even copy or hear what we were doing over here on the radio. So they didn't have the ability to even hear us. Now we're all on, we split frequencies, but they have the ability to hear us all the time. So from a safety standpoint for our officers, for mutual aid, for backup, that seems to be very good for us. We've heard more than several times about from different agencies that they didn't realize how busy we were and what we handled over here until they were able to hear us. And now that they're able to do that, they understand the things that we're dealing with. So, that's been good. So the transition in general has been very good in that. I will mention, one of the things, we had put together a lot of information during that transition about things that were going to need to be replaced and things that were happening. One of the things we did not put into that was our radio system, because that had been replaced when Dave Lukuski was here. So, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but time flies. And just within the last couple months, I got a call from the Motorola rep, Baycom, who does all of our service, and they asked what we did with our radio parts when we took down our dispatch center. And I was curious as to why they were asking, and they said they had another agency that was using the same dispatch, and theirs went down and they can't find parts for it. So they basically were calling us to try to get some of our old parts, because the same system that we had, another agency was using, it went down. Motorola doesn't support it anymore. They couldn't find parts for it, and they basically were hunting around on shelves looking for parts. So if that had happened to us, I don't know what we would have done. And he shared some cost issues with us on that. We hadn't even planned for that. It was stunning. So, there was a lot of moving parts with that, but all in all, it's been a pretty decent transition. Again, we talked a little bit about the records management changeover. That happened in January. We have the officers doing a lot more entry, and that whole process has changed for us in-house, so there's a lot more demands on the officers as far as processing reports, filling in data. All in all, they've adapted very well to that. They're a great group, as you guys know, and they do good things for us, and that was a tough transition. We're still learning. We still have questions every day about it, but they've done an outstanding job. I can't speak highly enough of the staff and what they do, to get through that and learn and really, jump on that stuff. And of course, these guys do a great job of helping that process along. So, a lot of challenges there, a lot of changes within the last year on those two items. Moving into training, a little bit discussion about that. Captain Damsteg actually will be completing the Wisconsin Command College in June. That's a several-week course. How many weeks is that?
6 full weeks.
6 full weeks.
In residence at State Patrol Academy.
So he goes down to the State Patrol Academy for a week at a time during the month. And the Command College really is about that executive development going forward. We'll talk a little bit more later on the LPO, or the Leadership and Police Organization, that sergeants went to, but the Command College is basically the next step in that. And what it does, we take a lot of time and about, working and developing our officers to get them ready for the next step that's coming in their future and within the department. And obviously, this was an important command college for Troy to go to, and really talks about that executive position within an organization. So he'll be doing graduation in June, so we'll be going down for that, and really good program, statewide program. Did you want to talk a little bit about that, Troy, or is that pretty?
Oh, no, you summed it up.
Okay. Sergeant Tipton and Sergeant Kurzak, they're going to talk a little bit about the Leadership and Police Organizations training, but they just completed that as well. That's also a multi-week training, three weeks, yeah, at a time, over the course of several months. So, and I'll let them explain that in a little bit here, about what that's about. But again, it's that same philosophy of developing those leaders within the department and those management issues that we all face. With their completion of that, all of our command staff now have that LPO training. So it's a very important thing for us to do. Myself, Captain and Sergeant Borkenhagen attended the Wisconsin Chiefs of Police Conference in February. It's a 3-day conference down in the Dells. And again, it's, we switched things up a little bit in regards to that. In the past, it was usually the chief and the captain would go to that, but we're opening that up now to our other command staff. So Sergeant Borkenhagen went with us to the winter conference, and then this summer, these two sergeants will be going with me to the summer conference. So
When was that, I'm sorry?
that was in February. So it's just, they cover a variety of topics as far as administration and executive training and legal aspects, motivation, leadership, all those things. So it's a good conference to go to. Sergeant Borkenhagen and Officer Grenier also attended Pursuit and Intervention Instructor Training. That's the, if you've ever seen on TV where the officers are pursuing a vehicle and they hit the back end and make it spin around to stop the pursuit. We, in the past, have not done that because of our policies, and because we hadn't had instruction and instructors on that. So now we have 2 instructors in that to just kind of change our approach to that a little bit, to give us another tool into the belt, if you will. So we'll be looking forward to that training. We've held our EVOC, our Emergency Vehicle Operations, and our DAT instructor, DAT training over the last couple of months department-wide. And we continue to do a lot of our in-house training here. We have instructors for a lot of those disciplines, which really helps us get through training. Tomorrow we have firearms, department-wide firearms training. So we have instructors for all of those disciplines, and that helps us get through that. We had all officers complete online response to child abduction incidents through CART training, and all officers completed that online, about an 8-hour training, so that's a good refresher. And then we had some officers that didn't have that training, so that's good to have. Again, our specialized trainings continue. We've had officers attend some other specialized training based on their, whether it's investigations or other interests. Officer Corey Bonak's going to be going to active shooter response instructor training. We're doing some interesting stuff with that countywide that we'll be able to bring to you and show you about that at our next time we get together, hopefully. So, any questions about training issues?
Do you feel the Ripon Department is proactive on training officers compared to other agencies?
I do. I think we put a high priority on that. And, Brad certainly can, and Troy can talk to that about working for other agencies and what their response there was. And I know Jesse's wife works for another agency, and certainly they talk. We put a lot of emphasis on that. If somebody has an interest in a training and they come to us and we see a need there in the department, we certainly are open to that. If you remember too, we also do a tuition reimbursement program, where if an officer wants to go and get continued education, or maybe they have a 2-year degree and they want to get a 4-year degree, we'll help pay for that. So we put a lot of emphasis on training. We do monthly trainings here, department internally, but it's very rare that we have an officer come to us and ask to go out to training outside, specialized school, and we deny that. We're really flexible about that. We try to get them as much as we can. Do you guys have anything to add to that, or?
No, I would agree. Yeah, I'll agree. In-house, there isn't a lack of training, so I mean that's a good thing.
One of the things we see with our training is it's always changing, even our English stuff. I mean, when I started here back in the Stone Age, we didn't have our pepper spray, we didn't have tasers, we didn't have, so we're always changing, whether it's issues regarding use of force or how we do things. When we upgrade equipment, so for example, Brad is our taser instructor, and we just purchased new tasers for everybody, so now we're going to have to go through the training for that to get up to date on that. So it's always changing. We're always addressing issues. So yeah, we're pretty active when it comes to that. And it's important. Put a lot of emphasis on that. As far as personnel, we remain fully staffed within the department. Officer Phil Watry, who was in here before, he completed his 1-year probationary period in February, I believe. So now we don't have any officers that are on probation. They're all fully fledged and doing their thing. And again, I can't compliment the staff that we've got here. I would stack this group of guys and gals up against any department our size or even larger. They do a fantastic job and they work very well together. We actually were the only county, I think in Fond du Lac, or the only agency, I know in Fond du Lac County that remained fully staffed over the last year, year and a half, 2 years. Well, a year and a half since we were filling. So, you know, we're doing good things. We did some things. Quite honestly, there's a lot, you know, we're seeing it in the private sector about trying to hire and fill positions. We took some steps before this to kind of get things set up with some vision there with our shift changes to 12-hour shifts. Our schedule helps us a lot with that. The lateral transfer helped us recruit officers from other agencies. So, you know, we did some good things there that have really paid off for us.
How many full-time officers are there?
14. We are expecting some medical leaves this summer and fall amongst our administrative assistant staff. So we now have 2 of those. So Kelly Schmoll, who's been here about 33 years, and Tina Block, who's been here 32 years. They're both going to be out for some period of time here this summer and this fall for some medical leave, and so that'll stress us a little bit on that end, but you know, they work very well together and they're always open for calls at home to help us through things. So, as far as department activity, we've seen some, you know, significant sexual crimes against children cases over the last several months. Pretty significant stuff. We continue to see some significant child pornography cases that we've been dealing with, child sexual assault cases, and we're seeing a lot of that influenced by computer-related contacts, whether it's through different apps or social media, where juveniles and offenders are being connected. But we've had some, you know, some significant cases in regards to that. Obviously, the officers have done some fabulous work on those issues, and we're seeing that. You know, we did an investment with Waupun PD, a cost sharing on our ability to do forensic downloads on cell phones, computers, those type of things. And I mean, the majority of our cases now, we're grabbing those. We're grabbing cell phones, we're grabbing stuff, so we're spending a lot of time doing that. It's just something that, you know, we talk about how the evolution of policing has happened over our careers, and, you know, 10 years ago, we weren't even seeing this, and now we're seeing the whole influence of cell phones and social media and all that stuff's happening, so it's changing how we're doing our jobs. But it's just interesting to point out we've seen some significant cases on that end. We've got a code enforcement program that we got up and running. The city council and city leaders had expressed some concern about code enforcement, wanting us to step that up a little bit, and so we made some changes in that. The city did an investment on a code enforcement web-based program, so Officer Henning actually and myself have been pretty active in that, and that really has taken off here in the last month. So I think in the first week we did like 50 code enforcement violations for a variety of things. But that seems to be going really well, and at some point we can surely show you an example of that. So, as far as equipment, we got our new squad cars delivered, finally. Now we're just waiting for the stuff to go in now. So I've got, you know, 2 brand new squad cars sitting in the back, but we can't get stuff. So just like everything else, we're waiting. So we're waiting for camera systems. We're upgrading all of our camera systems, which is the body cameras connected to our squad cameras. We're switching over to WatchGuard for all the cameras. The officers we've got a couple WatchGuard cameras that they've been using, and I think that they really like that system. And it's much easier when it comes to open records requests for processing things, for redacting stuff, sending videos on discovery that we have to supply in cases. we can just electronically send all that stuff now, rather than in the past, we would have, Troy would have to sit down on the computer and find the video and then download it onto a disk or a jump drive, and then we drive that jump drive over and then hope that whoever gets it can play it, and it was not good. So we did a significant investment in that technology, but now we're just waiting for the squad car cameras to come in. And what else are we waiting for?
Radar units.
Radar units, yeah. So,
No hurry on that.
yeah. So, yeah, we're just waiting, and, just like some of you may be experiencing in your own businesses, trying to get equipment, sometimes it can be tough right now. So, we did enter into, you may have seen some of it in the local paper, into a agreement, the city entered into agreement with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So traditionally what we would do is we would get a squad car. We would buy a single squad car a year. And when we got that car, we would switch an old one out. Well, that old one was generally around here for 8 years. And so our oldest squad car we would have, or that new car we would have for 8 years before we would get rid of it. Under this program, so we got 3 cars this year, and we'll be able to switch those out in 4 years. So so we got 3 SUVs, and then we actually have a 4th one on order, which is a pickup truck, an F-150, that will be used for our SRO. The city looked at if you've been out shopping for a car lately, there's a lot of stuff going on with that as well, right, Brad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So people are buying vehicles without even seeing them, they're ordering them, whatever. So this process allows us to get these cars, maintain them under the maintenance agreements, so we're not running into having a car here for 6, 7, 8 years where maintenance, our warranties are all expired, we're paying for that. These will all continue under warranty, and then we basically sell them back to Enterprise. And they have a pretty decent turnaround on it. So the numbers actually are staggering when you look at citywide, the program and what it's going to save the city. So it's going to be an interesting program, something this new city administrator brought forward, and so it's something they're trying out. So we'll see how that goes. Any questions on any of that? A lot of information there. It tells you a little bit about what we're doing. Okay. I asked Sergeant Tipton and Sergeant Kurzak to be in tonight. These are our 2 newest sergeants, and they have quickly developed into great leaders in this department. They have lots of respect from the other officers. They're a wealth of knowledge. They both have investigative backgrounds. They've been a real valuable asset in serving the position, and we have every confidence in them. If I leave here at 4 o'clock and one of these 2 gentlemen are sitting here, I have no concern because they're as solid as they go. But again, one of the things we like to do is get them more training, and they've got strong investigative backgrounds, strong police backgrounds. But they're moving into new positions here as sergeants, so we need to give them some of that executive and some of that type of training. So they recently went to the Leadership in Police Organizations training. Brad, if you want to start out and just kind of touch a little bit about what that program is about, and Jesse, you can inject whatever you want here.
Yeah, so like Chief said, it was a 3-week class. It was 1 week a month for 3 months. I think it was February, March and April, and the first week kind of specialized on individual within a department in how to deal with different type of leader theories that come into play. Tells you how to analyze a situation. So if you have a disgruntled employee, or maybe an employee that's not performing to the level they need to be, kind of analyzing that and kind of coming up with these theories that then incorporate strategies on how to help with the situation. It was a kind of a long process. I mean, it was for an entire week we're in a classroom. It was actually the state's largest class. I think it was well over 40 people. So it was packed, and we had agencies from all over the place. And we just kind of interject here about what the chief mentioned about fully staffed. I think we're probably one of the agencies within that with multiple departments that we're kind of really shocked that we're fully staffed. So I mean, that's really got to say a lot about the agency here. But anyways, back to that. So like week 1 was the individual aspect of things. Week 2 was more the group culture type look at things. I mean, obviously, when you have an organization, you have different type of groups, that would congregate and stuff. So it dissects the group aspect of it, including the individual stuff. And then provides kind of, like I said, strategies to how to fix it. They did a lot of case studies after each session of like, okay, we either read it or you watch it, and just kind of as a class would dissect. Okay, well this is this is what the issues are that we're seeing here. This is what we're going to apply to this, and this is this is the results. And then obviously, like anything, we got to keep on it and analyzing it, and then obviously if we have to revisit it or anything like that. And then the third week was more like stress-based, trying to think of the other one, stress-based, having crucial conversations. I mean, if you have to sit down with those with an officer that's maybe having some very difficult situations, having those crucial conversations with them. I'm trying to think that last week there. And then ultimately, our last day, we had our case studies. So out of those 40-some students, we had 6 teams, right? So we had about 6-7 people on a team. So then we would all have to agree upon a case study that we would present to the class. The case study is, I mean, it's probably like a 2-3 page, just kind of detailing a situation that occurred. It can be real, it could be fake, made up, whatever, but it just had to incorporate a lot of the stuff that we learned, and then teach the class on how we dissected it, analyzed it, and explained some of the strategies that we use in it. So it was there was a lot of information, but now that you look at it, you start going through those classes and you kind of personalize. Maybe something that you dealt with earlier on, or maybe something that you're going to come up with. It makes it a lot easier in regards to being a supervisor to deal with that stuff, I think.
Yeah, it relates a lot directly from basically being a first-line supervisor to your employee, and it's the goal of like every situation and of your department is to have the employees have a high level of motivation, satisfaction, and performance. So anytime there's an issue that may come up with any of those, you could, like, the equity theory is one of the theories. So maybe somebody is experiencing an inequity, and then how to approach that, and how to, when they're experiencing that, they're going to have low performance because their motivation's down, their satisfaction's down, and ultimately that can rub off on other people, that can affect people leaving the department. So they talk about strategies to increase their motivation, satisfaction, and performance, and I think ultimately, if you do that with every employee and you maintain that, that's why you have a department with, it's not struggling with employment right now. Because obviously there's issues with just being a police officer. People, we're not getting the recruits that we used to. So there's the factors that you deal with on calls, but then there's a lot of factors that happen inside of a department internally. And I think you'll see people would leave departments if there's internal issues as well, because there are so many opportunities. So if people want to leave, and the opportunities are out there to go to other places. So I know we've talked about hiring people in the past. And we've talked about this in the class too, is we're kind of selling our department just as much as that recruit's trying to sell themselves to us. We want our place, we want attractive recruits, and we are trying to show off our department to them because we want them to work here and we want them to be long-term people. I think we've done that very well for being a small department. People don't really use this department as a stepping stone. It's, a lot of people that are here for the long run, and they're here until they retire. So just all kinds of strategies. There's a lot of info. Again, it's very good class.
And it's probably different training than what you guys have ever been involved with. I know, Brad, for example, is a tactics guy. He's a dad instructor. He's, all those things. SWAT, used to be a SWAT guy over in the county, and so very proficient in that. This is a whole different ballgame. This is a whole different conversation. Same thing with Jesse, very strong in investigations, training in that. But the whole, you know, and I tell new sergeants this, is that, you know, prior to becoming a sergeant, when they came to work, who'd they have to worry about? Themselves, right? Now as a sergeant in a leadership position, when they come in here, they have to be worried about themselves and whoever is working, you know, with them. So it really, the sergeant's position helps develop that, really starts changing that mindset that they have to have, and this training is really good at doing that, so. Anything else you guys want to add on that?
They talk a lot about, you know, when departments might get jammed up for something, or there's some scrutiny, it's usually lack of supervision, or lack of training. You know, so it, obviously this class really talked a lot about supervision. We've done the training thing, but I mean, part of that too is we you know, our job as first line supervisors is sitting down with officers, talking about the training that they want to do outside of their normal training, and kind of finding each officer's niche, you know. So everybody kind of has some sort of a special role, and they all feel invested, and you get buy-in from everybody. And I think we've been working on that, so.
Good, thank you. Kind of, you know, part of that leading into the next item of discussion is our electrical policy. So, for the past half century, it seems like.
I brought mine in here too.
Did ya? This was our policy manual. And what really struck me, you know, it's, let's be honest, it's archaic in this day and age. What struck me was probably about a half a year ago, I received a open records request for documents for a chief that was here 2 chiefs ago. And when I pulled the box out, dusted it all off, started looking through it, there was stuff in there that was still contained today within our policy. And it was like, holy smokes, we need to really take a serious look at this for a variety of reasons. Liability to the city, liability to ourselves, how we do business, really needed to be addressed and looked at, and there's a better way. So, Brad, what we did is we made a significant investment into a program called Lexipol. I'll let Brad explain kind of what Lexipol is about, but Brad has been tapped with this project, which is a significant project in our department as far as policies and how we go. But we're basically going from this to what Brad's going to show you here. So if you want to tell them a little bit about Lexipol, what that's about, and then show Brad.
So Lexipol is country, probably, or worldwide in regards to policies, mainly for law enforcement. What they do is they provide you with a basic, like standard, like this is our policy that we offer. They actually have a very long training process of doing just like how to fix it. Anyways, so it provides just very basic policy that can be absorbed pretty much agency-wide. And then there's just tons and tons of passwords that we go. Anyways, so it's kind of a basic policy. What I'll show you here. So right now we're in the process of we have the draft manual that we can go through and go through. So as on the left-hand side, this is your table of contents. There's 10, I guess, categories if you want to look at it. So what they do is they provide you with these policies that, as you can see, they're one's approved. These are being issued out already. So that binder is now being thrown into a computer system where you have a lot less paper. And then when we actually reissue out policies currently, well, in the process, we do paper, and then we got to sign off on that. We reviewed them. So with this, it's all electronically. I can issue it out to the whole entire department. Everybody reviews it, acknowledges it, and it gets documented that they reviewed it, acknowledged it. But as you can see, each of these categories have just subcategories. And you can see that, some obviously there's still a lot I go through. So what we've been trying to do is trying to get the most important ones out as we can, as soon as we can, and then as the chief is trying to update the current policy, he'll send it out to me. And if it's in here, we'll modify it, change it to what we need to do, and then reissue it out and start transitioning from paper to the electronic aspect. But a lot of this stuff is, so I'll just bring up, let's just see here, yes. Subpoenas, so this is what it comes with. This is what Lexipol has as a basic policy. You can actually see it recommends this as best practice. This is what they recommend as best practice. A lot of the people that create these policies on their end are your well-equipped attorneys, all that stuff. They make the big bucks, and they know what they're doing. And then you can see this is state mandated. So it's actually somewhere that it says that you need to do the state advice. So it's good to see that. So if you're looking through a policy, and if you want to maybe trim it up, like, okay, well, that's not going to really fit our department, we can remove that. But obviously, if it's state or federal, we're going to keep it in there because we don't want to obviously go against that.
What's interesting about that is, even though it's this is a national company, they have, like where Brad is talking about state there, they have policies specific to Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So we're not getting a canned policy for California. When we get a policy and it says state there, it specifically has the Wisconsin statutes
Yep, right here, yep.
associated with that. So all of that stuff is embedded into it already for protections. So we're not, it may be canned as far as you may see similar language in California or Nevada or Texas or whatever, but this policy is specific to Wisconsin law because there's things that we do here that are different in other states, you know. So that was an important aspect for us when it came to that. The other issue with that, I don't mean to interrupt you here, Brad, but one of the problems we were having with this is that if something bad were to happen, this is the first thing they're going to pull. Okay, let's say it's a use of force policy, for example. You know, we're involved in a, you know, God forbid, a shooting or some type of use of force incident. They're going to pull our thing. One of the questions I was fearful was, okay, Chief, where did this come from? Well, you know, I draft, you know, it was kind of always here. I don't know how long it's been here, where it originally, we've kind of made changes. This is different. This is defendable. This is experts that put this together, attorneys that put this together, and they will defend these policies if we're within that policy. So that's a significant change for us, and as far as the liability aspect, when it comes to policy, that's significant for the city and for us.
What else is really, like you said, significant is things change all the time. You know, I mean, laws get changed, things get implemented. I mean, just this year we had to implement the duty to intercede for law enforcement. You know, for use of force stuff. You know, if you see somebody doing something, you have to. You know, it's your duty to intercede. You have to do it. It's mandated by the law. So the policies had changed. So what was nice is as soon as it was issued or is made a law, Lexipol within like probably a good day and a half comes out with an updated policy. So then I just take whatever was issued there, I can pull up the old one, pull up the new one, and it's going to show me what's been changed, and I can sit there and accept it. Obviously, if it's something that really isn't like mandated or whatever, you can decline it or whatever it could be. But yeah, so I can accept it, and then I can just submit it right off to the officers, you know, when it's ready to do that, and it's very, very easy. But like I said, there's just a lot of information. A lot of this, you know, a lot of this stuff can, you know, apply to the city of Ripon, or I mean, you could see it. Some of the things are like, okay, well, this is definitely like, you know, larger agencies, you know, like Milwaukee or something. But like the chief said, just the state of Wisconsin, a lot of departments, believe it or not, I mean, and use Lexipol even at that training. I think there was kind of a consensus amongst the group when they asked about Lexipol, and everyone was like, oh yeah, you know, kind of grumbling like, yeah, we have it. I'm just like the guy, like, yeah, we got it too. Like I'm the one in charge of it, like, or you know, doing it. Like, but it's nice because it does you can reissue it out. Plus, it also provides, once we're up and running with a certain percentage, we can actually start doing some training bulletins with it. That, you know, that officers can review, and actually that can go towards a CADIS, our state requirement for training. That can go towards the hours of that too, so that's really nice. They actually have, for us, Wiley Net was Dear Dave, you know, so now they have a guy here on Lexipol that does a lot of legal update type things too for officers. as well. There's just so many other different things you can do with this. As you can see, these are ones that are kind of currently right now, but yeah, if there's an update, it would tell me that down here. If there's an update, I just issued this one out, so this is for me that I don't need to review it, but I can sit there and accept it. And then eventually, once we start just like dissecting through the policy some more, and there's some things that are policy procedures, in there, so we can actually probably separate the two and then put them in a procedural manual, so it'll be a little bit easier to find too. Like that one, you can't. There's no search function on that, so if you want a keyword, you can't search it. So this one, you can obviously search that key function and you get your results. And like as an administrator, as management, for the chief here, you can sit there and pull like, okay, well, where are we at? How many people reviewed it? You can actually see that. It gives you all that information, which is nice. It gives you, there you go. So this talks about what's out there right now. So ultimately we have something that talks about authorization. It gives you kind of a pie chart. So there's just a lot of things that I'm not 100% familiar with yet. But I will. And then they have your help function, which gets you to this guy right here. So he gives you a lot of information, just a lot of fun things. I mean, it's pretty helpful. And then you can do your training things. But like I said, once I get to a certain point, then we can do that. But yeah, it's a work in progress, but it'll be pretty slick once it's up and running. And it's nice words. Once it's updated, we get something from them like, oh, and I get a notification like, hey, this manual's been updated. Take a look at it. I can do the side-by-side stuff versus going like this, and it actually highlights everything. And if there's some policy changes that needs to be made amongst myself and the chief, or instructors or anything specialized, we can sit there and back and forth, and then can redact it, and it can show stuff that's been changed. So it's really it's beneficial. It's kind of intimidating, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
When it's
Brad, as part of that, you can create a quiz that goes out to the officers to ensure that they comprehend the policy.
Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah.
So they're not just reading it; they take the quiz to prove they comprehend it.
Or they're not just going on there and all new policy, I'll click accept, without reading it. It tracks all that to make sure that they're, that we can show that they've actually done the policy.
When did you actually start using this, and have you had the opportunity to customize it or accept, or I don't know what the word for this is, but they put these policies out there, you can accept or say, well, it doesn't fit Ripon's department, I want to modify it.
Yeah. Yep.
Has anything been modified?
Yeah. Yep. So what I do is I'll take, if a policy comes out, I'll look at our current policy too and see if there's, okay, well, that looks good, that's not in this one, we're going to add it here, and like I said, I'm not going to modify anything that's state or federal just because, that's set in stone, you know what I mean? The best practice, and there's actually like a category that says discretionary, like, so if you want to take that out, you can, or we can add sections in there too. So like if there's something in there that we like in that one, we can put it, like obviously colleges, we can sit there, put stuff about Ripon College in there. Yeah, you can change that and then submit it out. So I think there's probably maybe 30 policies that have been issued out already.
Do you find topics or objective policies there that we don't have now?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good.
But it's kind of interesting though, because there's some of the policy in there that I can see the wording matches the same wording here. So at some point, somebody had Lexapol a long time ago, you know what I mean, and then that got pulled, and it got, this is like.
But it's really a protection for us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
By having reviewed it.
Exactly.
And then, yeah.
When did you guys start using this program?
When I want to say like January was kind of like the up and running. I had all my like training seminars and all that stuff all done with, because we have like a rep too that we can work with too. So anytime we have an issue, we can call them up and.
It's still a work in progress. We've got a lot of policies in there. It's a major.
So when I've talked to the lady, I'm like, because I feel like I'm like way behind on this, and I'm like, okay, what's the projection date on these? And she's like, well, sometimes some people could just set it out there and you got to get it out within a year. She goes, I have agencies that have had it for 4 years and they're still working on it, just getting out because they might just issue like this. Like, if a policy comes out, they might revisit that in here to see if there's something similar. Then they just issue it out, so they don't have to reissue that actual the paper one. So it's a process. I'm trying to do as streamlined as I can. But for me, I submit to the chief. He reviews it. Obviously, makes the ultimate stamp of approval. Or if it's EVOC or firearms or other disciplines that we have, I submit it out to like the K-9. I submit it out to those officers to take a look at it because they're more of the expert persons when it comes to that. I mean, I know a little bit about the K-9, but I mean, obviously Trevor, this is yours, help me out here to try to trim up as much as we can. So
right now, we're kind of working on a both, but we're slowly transitioning from this to that will be in entirety. So, yeah, it's a major project, right? Getting by the months or a huge job it is.
A lot of hours, a lot of days, a lot of work.
That's
And he's
coffee.
doing-
yeah.
And he's doing it while he's on shift,
Yeah,
answering calls and everything else.
It also sounds like the officers involved need to, I hate to use the word prove, but display that they understand what they have to, much like education for us, you have to read, understand, and show somebody you understand it
Yeah,
to continue.
yeah, for years.
It's also ongoing.
I can remember I'd come in and there'd be a stack of policies on my desk, photocopy. And it was basically, okay, you would take them and put them in your binder. You know, there was no sign off to say, yep, I read this and I understand it. Even though we're still using some of these, we know our process where every time we put a policy out, they have to sign off on it. The sergeants are, they get those and they go through them with their officers. They have to sign off that they reviewed each policy and they understand it. So.
And one thing that's nice about, with the Lexipol too is, I mean, you can still do it with this, but it's a lot easier. So like if you have firearms coming up tomorrow, right? And you have a policy that specifically is gonna be regarding firearms or something that we're doing, like for DAT, like if I have something for, handcuffing, we're gonna do handcuffing for DAT. I'll kick out I'll be able to kick out the handcuffing policy before that, so the officers can read that, even though maybe they, reviewed it like 3 months ago, whatever, but it's like, hey, I want you to review this. So you're kind of refreshed on this when it comes to training time versus, with this, but it's nice.
I'm gonna put you on the spot now.
Yep.
It sounds like there's a blend going on right now between Lexipol and the old manual. How long before that manual is done?
Oh, how long? Completely done?
Yeah, when you don't use it anymore. This one's gonna be abandoned at some point.
Yeah, yep.
How long, a year, 2 years, 10 years?
So I was kind of hoping in August to be completely switched over to this, but I'm thinking that's going to be probably pushed back a little bit. But what's nice is so it's starting. So whatever policy gets like basically taken out of there and put in there, now that binder's just going to start slowly thinning down here. So like I said, I'm hoping.
So that's already thinned down?
No, this one's still there. This one's my copy.
But yeah, I was kind of hoping by August, but then like I was talking like with the rep and stuff, it's like it's a process,
Probably years.
Probably.
I'm hoping no more than probably another 8 months. Because right now, I mean, it's like I'm doing kind of like doing the patrol aspect of it, you know what I mean, and then coming in and kind of working on this as much as I can too.
So I have a schedule, like when I use this, when we're using this, I would review a policy, depending on the policy. Use of force, for example, I review every year. Okay. Some other policies, a lot of the other policies, it's every 2 years. Well, as they come up on my calendar for review, instead of me making photocopies of them and handing them out, I send them to Brad and he puts them on there. So, we're kind of working.
With the process.
Yeah. And that was at his suggestion, because I was still making photocopies. He's like, why don't you just send these to me and I'll put them on, and so that's him. So.
And the other thing too with the policy too is that the rep was saying some departments just sit there and work on it all at once, and then they go boom, here's 200 some policies, all at once, and then people are just swimming in it, trying to click and approve, you know what I mean? Then they're not really doing this, and they said a lot of agencies do this where they kind of piecework it out. Like, hey, I'm just going to issue one at a time, or two, you know what I mean, just as they come out, so it's a lot easier to consume. And yeah, we do have technically we have 2 policy umbrellas right now that we're under. I mean, there's the ones that's obviously current on here. That's no longer in there, but the ones in there, you're going to still fall under those policies. They're still current. And what's nice, Lexipol, when you issue out like one of the first policies they have, it explains that. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to, in the process, there's going to be 2 policies. Whatever the current one is, that's what you're going to be falling under.
So you're making a healthy transition.
Yes. Versus here, just dump a bunch of water on something and try to see if we're going to swim or not. So.
Nice. Thanks, Brad. Anything to add, Jesse?
No, I can tell you that I'm excited to be able to find policies using, a key function, because there is times when, there's two people on, and then you're dealing with a situation that maybe you haven't dealt with ever or in a while, and, we have a policy on it, and you want to, it could be something with the cells back there, and you're kind of fumbling through this to try to, I know there's a policy, and you can't really find it in the table of contents, and and you just can't find it, and you're pressured because you got stuff going on, and you're here only with two people, and so to be able to come in here and then look up something with the cells, the holding cells or something like that, you'd be able to find the policy on it right away.
Yeah, it'll be, actually, probably put on a phone if you need to.
I was just gonna say, there's an app
Yeah,
on
yeah.
and now we have smartphones in all the cars, so they'll actually have a policy with them wherever they go.
Mm-hmm.
They used to laugh at me because back when I was on patrol, I would carry my policy manual in my duty bag. And, that's a lot to carry around. But
Yeah.
now it'll be right on their squad phones.
Yeah.
So does it, you said like the state policies are automatically in there?
Yeah.
If those change, does this automatically update? Does it
Yeah, I'll get a notification with, hey, this policy, this update required, so you look at it, and it pulls up the old one and the new one, and it shows the changes. It actually gives you kind of it's called release notes. So it'll tell you why they made the changes, like, for this legislation change, or this statute, or whatever it is, or this act, whatever came into play, this is why we did. So, right.
Thanks, Brad. I'm just kind of, you got anything to add, department-wide? Brad? Troy?
Nope.
Okay. You got any other questions from us, guys? Before we move on to the other stuff here? Okay, as you know, you certainly can reach out anytime, stop at any time. I've said it several times, I will just tell you that, I consider this department right now the best trained, best educated department that this community has ever had. And that goes a long way with the officers and staff we have. They do an excellent job, and they're very attentive to the community and to each other. They make my job a lot easier because of the good work that they do. So it should be commended on that, especially guys like these three guys. Okay,
Thank you.
you bet.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the election of president and secretary for the police commission. And I think Chief Ballner has, let us know that my term and Steve's term are technically up, but now with the new administration, as of next Monday's meeting, we are probably into another 3-year term.
I don't know what the term is. I don't know the length of the term. We'll have to get that clarified for you, whether it's 3 or 5, but you'll be eligible for one more term.
So it sounds
3
like
total, by the way
sounds
that
like
sounds, if
tonight
that goes
we should-
through, with the council.
we should make the assumption that it's going to go through, because we won't meet for another 6 months again, technically, unless something else comes up. And this is our opportunity to elect president and secretary.
Yeah, and then just remember that the mayor will put forward your names on Monday night for approval to the council to remain on the commission. And if there's any issues with that, I'll certainly let you know on Tuesday morning. I don't anticipate there would be.
Okay, with that being said, are there any nominations for president or secretary?
I move that we re-elect the incumbents. Since they have done such a fine job.
Okay, there needs to be a second, and then there can be discussion, I assume. Thank you for no second. I know I've been the secretary, I've been the president, and I know Steve said that he would be thrilled to be able to have somebody else. Does that happen? Is that the only motion sensor?
No, one right here.
You have to get up and walk around and say,
Stretch your legs for the first year.
Gotta get an electrician to take care of that, I guess.
I'm afraid of electricity.
Me too.
So tell you, I guess, I don't need to be the president, but if nobody else wants to do it, I would do that again. And as far as, we have to have a vote on this, don't we? Okay, so far, nobody seconded the motion to leave the incumbents.
I'll second.
Now we can have a discussion.
You might want to go to my house tonight, we'll do that.
I would maybe split those. So I would, I'm just offering my suggestion. I think you need to tackle one first, so I would. So you don't have a problem with the president thing, I think you should amend your motion to possibly deal with the president first, and then maybe you can move on to the secretary's position, because there seems to be
Okay, so,
a desire to move on.
So I'll withdraw my motion.
okay, motion withdrawn. Does anybody want to make a motion for president?
I'll make a motion that Mr. Healy remains as the president of the Ripon Police Commission.
I'll second.
Now is there discussion? That's what I thought. So we have to vote on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Now, for the position of secretary. We need a motion for somebody to be the secretary. So I'll make a motion that Vince King take the secretary position.
I second that.
Now is there discussion? Vince, you want to say anything?
Oh, we'll take it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Very good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, and if anything changes in regards to that, Monday, where it ends up being different based on what the council does, I'll let you know, and you might have to get back together.
Okay, then the last item is, before the adjourn, is any other business or any open discussion? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hearing none, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done.